What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video I wanted to finally give you guys a review on Storm. Now I'm sorry I took a while making this one, but to be honest I kind of figured everyone already knew that Storm was an amazing character, because we already have a character in this game that has a similar mode to Storm in Crystal. So I just kind of figured, you know what, I could just hold off on making a review on Storm, because if you've seen Crystal in action and you looked at Storm's skills, you can see where they are so similar that it's very easy to tell that she's going to be an amazing character. However, I've actually seen a lot of nonsense out there by people saying that Storm is terrible. But let me tell you this before I even start this review, guys. So far with Storm, starting with her at 5 stars, I've been able to pull off a lot of solos in Shadowland. I've actually uploaded one of them so far, and I'm going to try my best to give you guys some more solos with her. But so far I've actually found 12, that's right, 12 different solos with her, all the way up to floor 24. So just keep that in mind. And that is with her not even completely done. So let's get into it, boys. Let's get into it. Leadership right here, absolutely disgusted by this leadership. It is actually a terrible leadership, one of the worst that I've ever seen for a blast type in this game. These leaderships right here are often given to speed types, which is very fitting because speed types are expected to be a little bit on the faster side. These leaderships are redundant and they should have been removed from this game a long time ago. They should either be doubled or just be changed altogether. Terrible, terrible leadership, and it really upsets me that I have to look at it every single time. This one right here, tier 2 passive. Very, very good tier 2 passive. I know it's a bit text heavy and there's some math involved, so I'm not going to go into detail with it, guys, but trust me when I say essentially what this does is it scales Storm's damage based on the amount of damage that you would do regardless of whether or not the enemy has really high defense or they dodge all of the attacks. What's going to happen is that eventually Storm is going to buff her own damage by a cap of 30%. So essentially if you had a 30% attack buffing leadership right here, that's what's going to happen once you hit a certain damage cap using Storm. So once the fight gets going, and the more damage you're able to pump out with Storm, regardless of whether they're dodging it, regardless of whether they have a shield up, regardless of whether you're just tanking the damage, as long as the damage is being dealt, eventually it's going to stack, and Storm is going to get an additional 30% increase to her attack power. Very, very powerful tier 2 passive right here, and that is in addition to getting 35% increase to skill damage and a 15% increase to bonus damage. Very, very powerful tier 2 passive. It also augments her freaking Eye of the Storm right here. It actually gives her double the lightning damage, and it bumps her chance of being immune to lightning by 20%. So very, very good tier 2 passive. We'll get into the 4-star passive a little bit later. 5 skill right here is a very, very good skill. I really, really like the animation. It does a very good damage. The only thing that I don't like about this skill is that it is not an iframe and it lasts very, very long. So when you use this in World Boss mode, you can actually be guard broken, and you will actually find that you get guard broken quite often. So for that reason right there, since this is probably her most powerful skill, you're going to want to consider putting immunity to guard break on her obelisk if she's someone you want to use for PvE. So if you want to use her in alliance battle, not talking extreme because she's not on that level where she can get you a really high-end score for extreme AB, but if you want to use her in normal AB, and if you want to use her as a world boss character, you're going to need to consider getting immunity to guard break. We'll get into the obelisk ideas later. Very, very good skill. Love how it looks. It has great CC. The only drawback, long animation, and it can be guard broken. 4 skill right here is an iframe. It also has a really good crowd control. One of my favorite skills to use with Storm. Love it. This 4-star passive right here, I'm actually really upset with it. 6% damage increase to lightning. Like, she has 2 skills that do lightning damage. Granted, it's her most powerful skill that's dealing lightning damage, but 6%, even at tier 2, 12% is still pretty low, man. Like, they should have just given her, especially since they robbed her in a leadership, they should have definitely give her at least 20%. This skill right here gives you a guard for 8 seconds. It's only 6 hits, so it's not quite as powerful as Loki, Silk, or Magneto's, but it's still a very good guard. It also decreases the enemy's all speed. This is very noticeable in Shadowland, and it's going to help you CC the enemy even more because it's going to make them move slower, attack slower, so it's going to make it easier for you to lock down and dominate them. It also summons some Hurricane Winds to pull the enemies together, so this is one of her key skills, not just for defense, but also for offense as well. Very, very good skill. 2 skill right here is her channeling skill, similar to Cyclops, where he bursts you down with the beam. This one right here, though, it doesn't do as good as damage as Cyclops. And to be honest, I do not use it very often. The only situation where I'm going to say you use this is in Shadowland if you're in a one-on-one, or if you've managed to line up the enemy properly and there are 2 enemies and both the enemies are stacked on top of each other, and you're using it as a way to stall for time if you have a really bad skill cooldown. Apart from that, just use it when you need to and just move along, because I don't spend too much time channeling this because it's going to waste a bunch of time. And as you guys can see right here, it also decreases the enemy's all speed a little bit more, so it's going to make them even easier for you to control. 1 skill, a little bit more CC, which is great. So as for overall's kit, a lot of CC, which makes her one of the queens of Shadowland, along with the likes of Songbird and Crystal. Arguably, she's superior to both of those characters, but since Crystal has a uniform, she has the potential to be significantly more powerful. Let's go ahead and take a look at her gears. As you guys can see right here, she has energy attack and ignore defense. This is a very good slot. For me, I rolled it for energy attack per level. I got pretty high percentages because I was determined to give her some good attack power. And for the rest of the gears, I rolled energy attack and all attack, and that was good enough for me. Right here, she got all defenses and skill cooldown. This is a 2nd slot right here that is premium. Very good slot. So for me, I mainly just rolled for all defenses, but I got energy defense per level right here, and this was a really high percent, so I just left it and just kept it moving. Right here, crowd control and critical damage. Kind of sad, I would have really liked HP right here, because since she's a blast type, and blast types are generally very squishy, and that is true for Storm based on my testing, this makes it so that you're going to have to think about getting invincibility on that obelisk, depending on where you want to use her the most. So right here, I rolled for HP per level, and I tried to get really high percentages, and for the remaining slots, I went for HP. Right here, attack speed and movement speed. The attack speed is actually pretty beneficial because that's going to make it so that you don't have a wind up on your skills, and that's going to help in making the enemies even easier for you to control. Movement speed, don't really care for it, to be honest. Storm doesn't move around a lot because the range on her attacks are just so wide, you don't have to run around with her, but it comes natively, nothing you can do about it. For me, I roll for crit damage, a little bit of attack speed, and some ignore defense. And that's because I'm still working on the obelisk for her. Now, as for obelisk ideas, guys, right here, this one at the top, immunity to guard break, 180% proc, is something you want to keep in mind if you're trying to use her for World Boss mainly and Shadowland. If those are the 2 main places you want to use her for, I would say go ahead and think about immunity to guard break. A damage proc would be nice too. However, if you're trying to build her for PvP, because she can actually be a monster in Conquest if you actually give her something like this. So immunity to guard break, all defense, because that's going to give her a little bit more survivability, but most importantly, the invincibility. If you can give her that invincibility, that makes it so that she has a little bit more time to start up her skills, so she can cycle through whatever the computer decides to give her as the first skills to use in Conquest, and allow her to flood the map with some hurricane. It is pretty much a wrap, because once she gets going, it's gonna be almost impossible for them to escape her. So if you're trying to build her for PvP, definitely try to go for something that has invincibility and immunity to guard break, because like I said, the 5 skill can be easily, very easily guard broken because of how long the animation is, and none of her skills are cancelable, so you want to keep that in mind. Now, as for the ISO set, guys, I went with overdrive. I wanted to stick with an offensive ISO set. There is an argument to be made for something like drastic density, but to be honest, I'm going to say go ahead and get overdrive or power of Hungry Hulk. Do not go with Hawk's Eye just because you already have some skill cooldown coming from her gears right here. So for today's video, we're going to go ahead and take her into Shadowland, and we're going to go up against one of the hardest rumbles that you can get early on, and that is the new Avengers. If any of you guys have gone up against this rumble, you know that it is no joke dealing with this rumble right here, okay? Storm is one of the very few characters that can actually shut these guys down and completely dominate them like they are nothing. So let's have some fun, boys. Alright, So for this clear right here, guys, the only skills you're going to see me use is the 3, the 4, and the 5, unless something really, really bad happens. And the main thing you need to worry about here, more than the actual rotation, is making sure that you keep Songbird and Wiccan locked down. They're going to be the biggest threat in here because Songbird, her CC is annoying as hell, but more so Wiccan, because he actually has the energy reflect, which is going to make it so that your Storm kills herself literally in seconds. So stick close to the spawn point and make sure that as soon as he spawns in, you have him completely CC'd. And just give him all the love in the world, because if you don't, you're going to regret every second you chose not to do so. Squirrel Girl, she's a little bit annoying just because of her iframes, but I don't worry too much about her, because she's not anything special. It's just Wiccan and Songbird. I'm telling you guys, if you take care of those two, this is going to be super, super easy. Even though she does have a type advantage, so the damage you're dealing to her is going to be a little bit low. She made it take a little bit longer, but still pretty good clear time, fairly easy solo. And that's all I have to share for this one, guys. I hope it was informative. Let me know what you guys think about Storm. Let me know what have you guys been able to accomplish with her. And I'll see you guys in the comments. And I'm out, boys. Peace.